Logan is a tragic masterpiece. Deadpool and Wolverine is set to release this month. There hasn't really been this much hype for a Marvel movie in a long time, probably since Spider-Man No Way Home. Part of the anticipation is undeniably Hugh Jackman's return to the role of Wolverine. Leading up to his return, let's look back at what was originally stated to be his final run in Logan. The year is 2016, X-Men Apocalypse had just released, and overall audience and reception for this is less than exceptional.
Everything they built will fall, and from the ashes of their world, we'll build a better one. You need to shut the fuck up.
It had really put a bad taste in people's mouths who had just felt like the franchise was revitalized with Days of Futures Past. The franchise felt as if it didn't have anything else to offer at this point and needed something else to revitalize the love that was established in the previous movies. 2017 arrives with trailers promoting Logan, Hugh Jackman's last time donning the claws. But for the first time in live action, we'd get to see this character interpreted with a heavy R rating. Deadpool ironically opened the door for this change to happen. This movie also seemed as if it would be adapting the Old Man Logan storyline from the comic books. Though it would be an adaptation, there would be many changes to the comic book or to the movie, since the only similarity is that Wolverine would just be older. However, with these changes, we got probably one of the best Marvel movies and the best of the X-Men franchise. The story. In the not-so-distant 2029, the entire mutant race is almost obliterated, and Logan, the invincible bestial superhero once known as the Wolverine, finds himself getting old, and his incredible healing ability significantly weakened. As an incognito limo driver, Logan does his best to guard and keep out of sight a weary Professor Xavier. However, things will take an unexpected turn when a cryptic woman asks him to transport a young mutant girl, Laura. A better future lies past the Canadian borders for the unaccompanied teenager, but the government is unwilling to let go of its assets so easily. In the end, can the aging Logan protect himself and Laura? By the way, the synopsis was provided by Nick, and I'm not going to try and say his last name.
Blah, 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 whatever.
Logan and tragedy. In a time where the superhero genre has started feeling either the same or copy and paste, this film provides a very character-driven Western tragedy. Logan is a shell of a man that he once was. The main abilities that made him such a remarkable mutant are becoming a hindrance to him. His healing abilities are fading. Every time he draws his claws in battle, he heals incredibly slow, and he gets incredibly sick to the point where he forms pus around his knuckles. The adamantium skeleton that made him practically indestructible is slowly poisoning him. The same hero that saved the future from Sentinels is now driving for Uber and avoiding helping people out of self-preservation. Not that he doesn't want to die, but he's still taking care of Charles. This is probably one of the first times that I've watched a comic book movie and didn't want to be the lead protagonist. As he takes on the job of protecting X-23, he reestablishes his purpose in being a hero, reestablishes his overall connection to people as he's experiencing so much loss and pain in his family and friends. It's a unique take on such an iconic character, but still feels true to who he is. Supporting characters.
The new Quesalupa from Taco Bell.
Charles Xavier used to be a character who would provide guidance to Wolverine in moments of his uncertainty. Even though he is experiencing his own form of regression, struggling with dementia, he can no longer control his abilities, making him a danger to everyone around him. He may have accidentally killed the X-Men as well and no longer remembers when the situation happened. It's a very different and vulnerable depiction of his iconic character, with Patrick Stewart giving an outstanding performance. or X-23 is honestly terrifying at times in this movie, delivering the more vicious and versatile side to the film. She's very fish out of water with a rage not taught to be maintained, as she was designed to be a government weapon. Though giving off an incredible rage-filled performance, Daphne Keane also delivers a tenderness to certain scenes of connection with her dad, giving Logan another character that forms a connection with him throughout. Action. Remember how I said earlier that this movie is R-rated? The first couple of minutes of the movie displays a level of violence that hadn't been seen in any X-Men film to that point. This is where we first get a taste of what a berserking Wolverine would look like. Attempting to get robbed, we see a struggling Wolverine go feral on his attackers. It also sets the tone for the rest of the action of the movie. He's far more vulnerable than any other movie, showing that unlike his younger self, he can't just bulldoze his way through opponents. X-23 is also outstanding in action sequences, delivering her own shock value moments in the movie. X-24 action sequences are tense as we witness more of Logan's mortality, as we slowly see him get torn apart as his younger self isn't even breaking a sweat. Charles Xavier. The death of Charles in this movie is hard to watch. After a heartwarming scene at a dinner table, Charles recalls him harming the X-Men, how he hadn't experienced happiness like that in a long time, and that Logan should be open to it, only to be stabbed in the chest by a look-alike of his pupil. I think that this death is so impactful to me because of how quickly it happened and how realistic it plays out. Charles' final words aren't that of wisdom or a monologue, but the name of the boat they were supposed to sail on. Logan looking at essentially what was his father figure slowly fading into the abyss. It's not a huge moment of sacrifice or larger than scale explosion, but something so in our face that it just hits so differently. The finale. The final act in this movie has been criticized for feeling formulaic to the superhero genre in a film that feels more Western in style. However, I can't really think of a more fitting finale to such an icon of a Marvel movie. Logan gives his all in this final battle to ensure a secure future for the next generation of mutants, giving crowd-pleasing moments like after taking the medicine going berserk against soldiers in the forest. Classic feeling Wolverine with far more edge, killing the main villain mid-monologue, which was amazing. Battling his clone X-24 is hard to watch as the protagonist gets demolished, but satisfying in the sense that we see his character arc in the movie of becoming his selfless nature again. This leads to Logan's death, which is probably one of the saddest superhero deaths on the big screen. It's up there with Iron Man's sacrifice. The scenery of a daughter holding her dying father is a hard sight to see, but also his message to Laura, be better than me. Don't be what I thought I was, all the negative I was. Much like Iron Man in the MCU, Wolverine started the train for the X-Men franchise. It feels appropriate that this is like the conclusion with him. Until it doesn't. Dark Phoenix. If I have complaints about the movie, I do think the villains aren't really that memorable. Dr. Rice, played by Richard E. Grant, isn't really a presence at all in this movie. Pierce, played Boyd Holbrook, is better since his personality really carries the character from being at the bottom of the bland blanket. However, he's also stereotypical in villainy himself. Originally, Sabretooth was supposed to be in this movie, but was changed to X-24 for some reason. I do think it would have been better and probably would have been more personal for him to be in the movie and battle Wolverine one last time, and does feel like a little bit of wasted potential. Also, though I do like Caliban in this movie, he provides more exposition and personality to the first act of the movie. He really becomes non-existent when he gets captured, then he just dies. In conclusion, though I think there are some issues with Logan, they're so minor to the point where they might as well not even be mentioned or counted. Logan is a very tragic film, but ironically feels hopeful at the same time, taking the character of Wolverine, a seemingly immortal character, and making him more vulnerable than ever is truly an inspired take on the character. This puts him in positions that we'd normally never see the character in, but still feels true to him and his roots. Other characters such as Laura or Charles help progress this regressed character to a character finale that feels just right for him. It also felt as if it was the official ending to Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and it felt nearly perfect. Of course, this year he's reprising his role in Deadpool and Wolverine, but I would have still been fine if this was the last movie to see him, because it's a phenomenal movie and truly a tragic masterpiece.